A lot of creators, including myself, we spent years sharpening the craft and not understanding the business around it. Welcome to Titan Sound Sessions. This is where we explore the process behind creation. Today, we're talking about the business side of music. Now, this is going to be a broad conversation, but very important. Now, the business side of music, this is the part that a lot of creators don't understand. And what I mean by that, we don't understand it until it starts affecting the work, the opportunities, and the way that we move. All right, so I'm going to readjust myself for this one. Most creators, we don't get into music for the contracts. We're not excited about that. We're not excited about that. We're not excited about splits, ownership, or negotiation. We get into it because we love creating. So the business side feels like the least exciting part until it starts affecting the work. So, what is it that we misunderstand about the music business as creators? Why do we avoid it? We love the art, not the structure. If you're not a business minded person to begin with, the business could feel intimidating. It could feel boring. The business side of music can feel separate. As creators, we tend to run toward passion and away from systems. As creators, we think that the business starts after the record is finished, but it's already shaping the process while the record is being built. I used to think that the business started when the song was done. I used to assume first I'm gonna create, then I'll get to that stuff later. And I think if we're all being honest, we all thought or still think that way. They're not separate. That separation is a myth, it's false. The business side isn't floating outside the art. It's attached to how the art moves, how it's handled, who touches it, and where it ultimately ends up. The business affects who's in the room. Without having your business handled, now we're talking about just song creation. You can take it to any discipline, but if the business isn't handled, the chance of you having true professionals in the room is minimal because that's what's done at the pro level. The business is handled first. It ultimately affects how people work. If I'm worried about the business side while creating, I'm not free to create at my best. You're thinking about what happens to the record afterward. It's hard to create if the business is not in order. As you continue to grow as a creator and your skill set continues to level up and your business acumen levels up, you'll see that the rooms that you're in will also level up. And a common thing in those rooms is the business is already handled. What happens to the record afterward? Whether the work gets handled well, that's a determining factor. A lot of us creators don't really understand the business side until it costs us something. That's usually when the lesson becomes real. What does that cost? Time, clarity, leverage, money, peace. Why talent isn't enough. Skill helps you make something good. Awareness helps you move correctly. A lot of talented people struggle because they understand the craft, but not the environment around the craft. Your skill helps you create, awareness helps you move correctly. Talent without awareness can still get lost. Ability versus readiness. Ability can get you in the room, but readiness determines whether you know what to do once you're there. Talent gets you noticed, readiness determines if you can hold the moment. An opportunity reveals whether you were prepared. Now, being good matters, but it doesn't guarantee movement. At some point, the question becomes whether people can trust you, understand you, and move with you. What do I mean by that? Well, for one, too many talented people exist. That's just that's just a fact. Too many talented people exist. I know you might be the greatest thing since whatever in the area you come from. It's a thing called big fish in a small pond. Until you step outside of your pond and then you see there's a lot of ponds with a lot of big fish. And some of these fish are bigger than you. That's where trust, reliability, timing, communication. These things matter as well. Now, I mentioned opportunity. Opportunity doesn't just reward talent. A lot of times it exposes preparation. Not only does it expose preparation, it exposes habits, whether they're good or bad. It exposes awareness, whether it's heightened or not. It exposes communication, whether it's good or bad. It also exposes readiness. Are you ready for the moment? So, how does the business affect the art? Relationships. We talked about this before. The quality of the relationship often affects the quality of the work. Why do I say that? Trust improves collaboration. Tension affects outcomes. Now, communication. Clear communication doesn't kill creativity, it protects it. Unclear communication creates avoidable problems. I'm going to say that again. Unclear communication will create avoidable problems. So, how do I avoid avoidable problems? Clear communication. Expectations, roles, directions, ownership, they all matter. Positioning, wow. Sometimes the work isn't weak, it's just not being positioned clearly. What do I mean by that? How you're understood affects the opportunities you get. Mispositioning can bury your work or you. You can have a fantastic product, but if you have the wrong person speaking for it, or you misspoke or misrepresent the product, it doesn't matter. Now let's get into timing. A lot of us creators think that timing is luck. Sometimes timing is really about readiness and how well the moment is being handled. So, why is timing important? Timing affects release, opportunities, momentum, visibility. Timing isn't always luck, but often reflects readiness and handling. A lot of the art that people experience is the result of decisions they never see. What a break. What are these decisions that affect outcomes? Let's see. Who gets included? What gets approved? What gets delayed? What gets protected? What gets prioritized? So let's get into the lessons that we as creators learn late. How about lack of awareness? Sometimes the issue isn't effort, it's just awareness. You could be working hard and still be blind to what matters most. Poor decisions. Some decisions don't feel big in the moment until you live with the outcome. So let's talk about poor decisions. Rushed decisions. I haven't released anything in weeks, months, years. I want to get this song out ahead of award season, or I want to get this song out in time for spring, or I want to get this song out in time for summer, fall. Let's slow down. Take your time. And I know speaking to aspiring creators, which probably means that most are independent creators. The difference between an independent and major is the machine. You have infrastructure in most cases, which means you have resources to create and distribute your creation. As an independent creator, you're doing this on your own muscle, on your own dime. So don't rush, take your time. Because a side effect of having a rush decision is you have to live with that outcome, and that outcome is usually regret. Why? Because as you listen to the product, you hear things, oh, I could have done this, I could have done that, I could have improved that. Wow, if I just waited a couple more days or weeks or months, I would have had this advantage. Avoid that trap. Now, this type of poor decision is personal to me, and that is ego driven decisions. So let me explain that. Full transparency. This used to be a challenge for me, and I'll share it, and maybe some of you can relate. As a creator, especially in the beginning, I could be sensitive about my work, and that sensitivity led to the need for validation. And as a and as a creator, trying to prove myself over and over again, testing my metal against other creators, whether it be beat battles or any type of competition or any opportunity to press play. It's like I gotta pound on my chest. I'm a producer. I'm this. At the end of the day, that's ego driven, and a lot of my decisions used to come from that place. Now I'm happy to say that I have totally reversed that thought process, and I completely removed ego from it. For me, my mantra has been for years now that we're going to do what's best for the song. It's not about me. It's not about you. It's about the song. And we will always do what's best for the song. If it means me getting out of the way, then that's what it is. If I have to bring in A, B, C, D, E, F, G to make it work, if it's what's best for the song, that's what we do. So ego driven decisions can ruin relationships. It could ruin the product itself. You might not have your best presentation if you make decisions based off of ego. I think this might be the most dangerous one, and that's uninformed decisions. Why is that the most dangerous one? Because you're making decisions without having all the information. And you can substitute uninformed with assumed. You're making assumptions. And in this industry, making uninformed decisions could easily remove you from the room and remove you from consideration for future work and projects. Not only can you put the current project in jeopardy, but now your reputation is at stake. Uninformed decisions almost equate to ego driven. And these decisions, they don't seem big until later. In college, I had statistics, and this is the midterm. Now, this test was comprised of 50 questions, and the 50 questions were it was one problem broken down into 50 steps. So if you get one question incorrect, it's a domino. It's a domino, and your entire midterm crumbles before your eyes. And that actually happened. About 2/3 of the way through, I answered one of the questions incorrectly, and my remaining answers were then incorrect, even though I did all the correct steps for the remaining questions. But because I got question 33 wrong, the remaining questions were wrong automatically. So that's an example of a decision might not seem big in the moment, but it can have a domino effect later down the road that can impact the final outcome of the project. Wow, trusting too quickly. Trust matters, but trust without clarity can become expensive. What do I mean by that? Excitement can be mistaken for safety. Access can be mistaken for trust. The main thing, clarity, clarity has to come with trust, not asking questions. A lot of people stay silent to protect the moment, only realize that silence costs you more than a question would have. As creators, silence feels safer in the moment. And why is that? We will stay quiet so we don't appear to be uninformed. Ask the questions. There's no such thing as a bad question. There's no such thing as a stupid question. If your question leads to clarity, ask it no matter what. You ask that question. We just talked about what a detriment uninformed decisions could be. Ask all the questions you want. Now, if you feel, I don't care what room you're in, if you feel like asking the question is going to open you up for ridicule, exit stage left. That's not a room you want to be in. If you're asking questions and you're made to feel like you're inadequate or you're made to feel like you lack intelligence, just leave the room. You're going to be better off in the long run. But the main takeaway, ask all the questions you need. Do not stay silent ever. You don't know everything. So if you have the opportunity to ask a question that's going to gain you knowledge, do that. So, not protecting the work. You can love the work deeply and still fail to protect it properly if you don't understand the business around it. We as creators, we just focus on the work. We focus on the work, we focus on making it, but we don't always protect what we made. Protection means clarity, protection means ownership, protection means documentation, protection means boundaries, protection means peace. What is it that we need to understand earlier as creators? The business side isn't outside the process. It's part of what determines whether the process leads anywhere. It's not extra, it's not separate. It's part of what determines what the work becomes. Learn before the pressure arrives. It's always better to learn in a quiet season rather than a high stakes moment. Essentially, we don't want to wait until the moment is high stakes. Your quiet seasons are for learning. And as creators, we all have quiet seasons. We're not busy 24/7. Well, it feels like it at times, but there are moments where we have that downtime. You can't just constantly create. You'll burn out. But in those breaks, learn. Now, why is learning in quiet seasons important? Pressure is coming, and pressure is going to expose what wasn't learned. Now, awareness doesn't make the art less pure. It gives the art a better chance to survive and move the way it should. As creators, awareness helps us move better, not just create better. And that awareness gives the art structure, gives it protection and direction. Now, we talked about being uninformed, we talked about making assumptions. So, what's the opposite of that? Intention. We tend to move on assumption because it just feels easier. But intention is what protects the work long term. You assume because you're good, you assume because you're skilled, you assume because you're talented, that that's enough to get you into these rooms and to get you into these places, to get these larger opportunities that'll change your life. Mm-mm. That's not the case. Business and music, they cannot be separated. It's still business at the end of the day. And the industry is considered a predatory industry, and in a lot of ways, it is. But the way to protect yourself is to understand the business side of the music business. The reason a lot of us creators suffer is because we ignore the business side and wholly rely on our music to win. You can't win without the business aspect because they go hand in hand. It's yin and yang. They're not separated. They're one. The business starts as soon as you start creating. It doesn't happen afterwards. It's happening in conjunction with the music. At the very same time, the business is also working while the music is being created. The business is really the foundation of the entire music business. And really, that's the one thing I would love for creators to understand earlier. And it's not too late. Even if you've been in this industry for years, decades, being informed is going to help you tremendously because the business side isn't just another layer around the work. A lot of times it determines what the work is to become and where it's going to go. If you know a creator that needs to hear this, send them this episode. And if you want more conversations like this about the process behind creation, subscribe to Titan Sound Sessions. I'm your host, Double A. I'll see you soon.